The comments are going to be turned off on this video. The reason the comments are going to be turned off is because I don't want to have a deeper discussion with any of you about what I'm about to say here. For some reason, when I turn the comments off, there will inevitably be people who write to me on different videos where the comments are turned on and say, hey, Jordan, since you didn't allow comments on such and such video, I'm just going to post this here. The reason I'm not allowing comments is because I don't want to have a discussion about whatever it is you are going to say. And don't try to think of exceptions to that. There are no exceptions to that. So if you do that, it's very likely I'm just going to block you. I'm certainly not going to engage in any discussion with you. But I want to get this across to my viewership, or at least certain people within my viewership, all of whom strike me as decent, upstanding, and likable people, that yes, I really am excited about Kamala Harris. I could give you a list of reasons why. It's not without, I could tell you all the reasons why, but that will not satisfy you. The only thing that will happen is you'll give me a long litany of yes, but what abouts. And I don't care to have the yes, but what about discussions, because my decision is made and my decision is final. Someone, again, a regular viewer to my channel who has always struck me as a decent sort, asked me why I didn't vote for why I wouldn't consider voting for whoever the current libertarian candidate is, since his views are probably more in line with my own. And the simple answer is that guy has no hope of winning, and I ultimately only care about getting Donald Trump out of, I will only vote against Donald Trump for the candidate who has the strongest possible chance of defeating Donald Trump until we find ourselves as a country in a place where Donald Trump can never be president again. That is my one and only position, and anything else I like about Kamala Harris in particular is a distant second to that. And of course, when I put that position forth, the person in question said, so you would be willing, said, what if Kamala Harris turned out to be worse than Donald Trump? And I said, I only care about defeating Donald Trump. And the person comes back with, so you would let Kamala Harris burn the whole country down if it means Donald Trump's not president? And I just said yes. Now, rest assured, I do not think that Kamala Harris will burn the whole country down. Every single person that I have heard make wild statements about the apocalyptic future that awaits us if Kamala Harris is elected president is somebody who I have already heard wildly and pathologically deny the reality of who and what Donald Trump is. If you could make a case against Donald Trump, against Kamala Harris, and for Donald Trump, in full knowledge of the full acknowledgement and full understanding of the complete reality of what Donald Trump is, that might be an argument worth listening to. But I am done trying to explain my logical, reasoned, and well thought out reasons for not wanting Donald Trump in the White House to people who are just going to write off everything I say as some kind of deep state swamp MSNBC conspiracy theory or something. I cannot, I cannot begin, I am completely stultified and without words to begin to try to make a case against Donald Trump, not because there's no case to be made, but because I just know from the very beginning that you are incapable of processing anything that I say. I just the other night watched the movie Just One of the Guys. It was an 80s teen sex comedy from the 80s, the kind of movie that could never be made today. And rewatched it for the first time since I was a kid. And the school bully is played, the villain character, the school bully, is played by William Zabka, who was Johnny Lawrence in Karate Kid and all of that. And the character he plays in that movie, the preening, smug, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, narcissistic asshole who pantses the nerds and goes around the cafeteria turning tables over just to impress people with how strong he is, and beating up people that talk to his girlfriend and all of that. That is all I see in Donald Trump. That is all I have ever seen in Donald Trump. And you might want to point to some policy decision that went through during his presidency that you liked. That did not happen because of Donald Trump. That happened because the adults in the room that were trying desperately to keep him in line and make him seem vaguely presidential got that thing accomplished behind the scenes and handed him a script of what to say about it to make it sound like it was his idea. That's all that happened. Donald Trump is not a good person. 100% of the documented evidence about this man's life, 100% of it, with no stumblings or hiccups or exceptions to be found, is the documentation of a vile and evil human being who has never been anything but vile and evil. And like the battered wives that all of you are, you continue to make excuses for his behavior, trying to put a positive spin on it, when in reality, to quote Bart Simpson, you have just bought another load of crap from the world's biggest fertilizer salesman. I have had I was very fortunate to grow up as a kid in the 80s and 90s enjoying boomer prosperity and getting to live this blissful, carefree existence. I even wrote a song about it that you can look up. It's called 90s Kids. But I was blessed in that. But it's also been a curse because I had to go from that blissful quasi-utopian state where semen stains on a blue dress were the biggest concern the entire country had, to the post 9/11 world. Let me tell you something about 9/11. My first opportunity to vote was in the John Kerry, George W. Bush election. And I remember driving along one day, I was home from college, and I was driving along one day in Georgia, and or riding along, I didn't have a license yet, but I was on the highway, and I see this billboard that said, "Please don't vote for Democrats." And next to that statement was an image of the World Trade Center, or the Twin Towers, being hit by the planes on 9/11. When Bush was up for re-election, there were all of these people who were convinced that another 9/11 would happen if a Democrat was elected because we would be left open and vulnerable to an attack. But could not comprehend that first attack happened on George W. Bush's watch. They wanted to re-elect the very same person on whose watch the first 9/11 had happened, and who completely ignored the intelligence data leading up to that first 9/11 attack. And for whether you think, I don't think 9/11 was an inside job, but I do think he was so blindingly incompetent that that was allowed to happen. Those same people are now the same, that same demographic of people are the people who are saying that there will be more George Floyd race riots if Kamala Harris is elected. Never minding, apparently, that the original George Floyd race riots happened under Donald Trump, the same person they are now trying to get reelected. I cannot help you. At this date, at this late date, I cannot help you. If you are dumbfounded about my decision to support Kamala Harris wholeheartedly, I cannot help you. There is nothing I can say. Absolutely nothing I can say. I am tired of listening to one person after another try to offer valid and insightful reasons for why Greg Tolan, the bully from Just One of the Guys, goes around turning tables over in the cafeteria. That's all Donald Trump is. That is all he will ever be. I don't want to hear about how Kamala Harris is I don't want to hear about how Kamala Harris is going to turn the country socialist. You did that with Barack Obama too. The same people who are saying that Kamala Harris is going to turn the country socialist are the same people who trot that crap out every single time a Democrat pulls out ahead. Bill Maher explained it perfectly. He said, imagine there's a pizza with 10 slices. One guy gets 8 out of those 10 slices, and 9 other people get to split the 2 slices that are left over. And somebody says, well, maybe you could just have 7 slices. And he says, no, that's socialism. We're not going to become socialists if Kamala Harris becomes president. I'm here, so I might as well explain. I might as well say, one of the main thing I liked about Joe Biden was that after he got set up as president, I did not have to think about him for 4 years. I did not give Biden a moment of thought, with one exception. The one exception was when he had, there was all over the news that he had Dylan Mulvaney over to the White House for some kind, that little photo op thing that happened, the interview thing. I thought that was embarrassing and stupid. But embarrassing and stupid I can put up with. Embarrassing and stupid is the guy from the movie, the side character from the movie Just One of the Guys, that carries reptiles with him everywhere and tries to impress girls by handing them to them. That's embarrassing and stupid. I can put up with that guy. I can't put up with Greg Tolan flipping the tables over in the lunchroom. I'm trying to eat, and I don't want to deal with his stupid narcissistic crap while I'm trying to have lunch. And you're going to want to write to me and say, Well, what did Trump do that was anything like that? What did Trump do that was like flipping over the table in the lunchroom? At, at this point, I can give you, you already know the things I'm going to point to. And if I point to any of those perfectly valid things, you know, January 6th, and I already know what your responses are. I don't need to hear it. I don't need to hear, hey, Jordan, since you didn't allow comments on that video, I'm going to post my comments over here on this video. See, the thing about January 6th was... No, I mean, that's what, and that's what's inevitably going to happen. Everything you think about Donald Trump that is positive is wrong. And your inability to accept your wrongness is not something I can help you with. I can't make you stop being wrong. The world would be a very different place if I had the ability to stop people from being wrong. So I can't help you with that. But I can ask that you just not bother me about it. Joe Biden became president, and I did not have to think about the president for 4 years. And people will come in and say, well, what about Hunter Biden? I don't give a fuck about Hunter Biden. The Hunter Biden bullshit did not impact my life at all. It did not impact the lives of the American people at all. Overturning Roe v. Wade, turning the Supreme Court into an activist arm for Donald Trump, that, laying the groundwork for Project 2025, that affects my life. Hunter Biden doing cocaine in the White House does not affect my life at all. So, at the end of the day, one of the things that finally gets the beautiful but naive girl to break up with Greg Tolan, not in the movie, just one of the guys, but in general, with people like that, narcissistic, psychopathic bullies like that. One of the things that gets her to break up with guys like that is when they look around and see that all of their friends have abandoned them, that their entire life revolves around nothing but that narcissistic scumbag. And they realize they think about everything they've lost, and they finally realize it's time to get away from them. That is what I feel like telling you, the Trump supporter, that I can't keep getting you, trying to convince you to break up with your horrible boyfriend. That's what I want, to just cut you off and let you go. But the problem is that we're in a very different situation where you are trying to vote to such a degree that I will have to start dating your horrible boyfriend, and everyone else in the country will have to start dating your horrible boyfriend. And your cement block around your skull that is preventing you from hearing the reality of how awful he is and how miserable he is does not sway me at all, or does not help you at all, does not help matters. But I'm not doing it again. There is no universe where a Kamala Harris presidency is worse than another Donald Trump presidency. Even if for no other reason than that when Kamala Harris becomes president, I will be able to go back to my life and forget about the president for 4 years. If Donald Trump becomes president, the whole world, everything, everywhere I turn for the next 4 years will be about Donald Trump. Everything will become about Donald Trump. And if you want to date that asshole, that's your problem. But I don't. I want to think that there is hope for the human race. I really do. I want to believe that people are, I want to believe that people are fundamentally good. You know, I have that wisp of hope still remaining. But I can't do it with, I can't hold on to that with Donald Trump in the White House. So if you are just completely dumbfounded and slack-jawed at the thought that I would rather have Kamala Harris in the White House than Donald Trump under any circumstances whatsoever, fine. Deal with it, but don't bother me about it.